Shabbat Shalom, welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah. This week, we begin Sefer Shemot, or the book of Exodus. In last week's Parashat V'yechi, we concluded the saga of the matriarchs and patriarchs with the death of Yaakov and Yosef fulfilling his oath to bury his father in the cave of Machpelah in Canaan. Then Yosef and his brothers and their households returned to Egypt. In this week's Parashat, we begin the transition to Moshe's leadership. Yosef and his generation pass away. Bnei Israel becomes a populous nation in Egypt. A new king arises that no longer favors the Israelites and enslaves them. Moshe is saved by Pharaoh's daughter from the king's decree to kill all the Israelite baby boys. Then Moshe, in a reversal of Yosef's journey from slave to courtier, begins his journey from courtier to slave leader, who will eventually lead the Israelites into the promised land. It's interesting to read this parsha between the Skila of Hanukkah and the Charybdis of Purim, between the rock of the promise of Eretz Yisrael and the hard place of life in the diaspora. A tension that is the creative source for much of Jewish tradition. I experienced this quite literally when I traveled with my family from Barcelona to Israel last month. From the 4th century to the end of the 15th century, Barcelona was an important Jewish center. In the Middle Ages, the Jewish community was prosperous, well integrated, and boasted scholars learned in Torah, mathematics, and science. It is estimated that at one point, Jews made up 15 to 25% of the population of the city. But from the days of the Inquisition through 1918, there were no openly Jewish residents. Today, there are about 1,000 Jewish families living in Barcelona. From Barcelona, we went to Tel Aviv. I hadn't been in Israel for over 20 years. A lot had changed, not all of it for the better, but it felt oddly familiar and very comfortable. It was nice to be in a place where it seemed like every restaurant and store lit a Chanukiah, and where you didn't have to walk more than 2 blocks to find sufganiyot. While we were in Israel, we learned that Camp Miriam, my kids' second home, and on whose board my wife serves as chair, had been vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti. With anti-Semitic acts like these and violence against Jews in the diaspora on the rise, it would be easy to make the Zionist argument that only in Israel can Jews really be fulfilled as a people. I'll leave that to others to debate, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to give up the gifts of the scholars of Barcelona in favor of the electric scooters of Tel Aviv. Let me finish with a midrash. The rabbis teach that when Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe and heard the cries of Moshe in the basket, she reached out her arm to him, but it wasn't long enough for her to save him. Then Hashem caused a miracle to happen, and her arm was able to stretch 60 cubits so that she could reach the basket and save Moshe. Now, why couldn't Hashem just have moved the basket closer? Because the miracle only became possible when Pharaoh's daughter made the effort. The rabbis want us to understand that in order to fulfill the covenant, we must be in partnership with God, especially when it comes to miracles. Both Hanukkah and Purim celebrate miracles. And like Pharaoh's daughter saving Moshe, the miracles only come about with human effort. This is the profound lesson of this week's parasha. May Hashem grant us the merit to live this teaching in our daily lives, so we may bring about more miracles in this world. Shabbat Shalom.